A couple years ago, I heard a big narrative of like, we don't need men.
I just see that in the collective. There's a lot of anger and it feels like father wounds. They either did what dad did or the opposite.
Somebody said men would rather like die than be disrespected or whatever it is. It was that intense.
The women change what they're actually desiring, change the whole culture of men. We just love to provide and we love to serve. But if there's not a receptivity to that or like an acknowledgement, appreciation.
I've heard this from very successful men with lots of friends, but yet they still know that there's some level of trust that they're not allowing themselves to experience.
We were shown the savage man who takes and has power, or the nice guy who's peaceful.
What is men's work?
That's a good question. I'd say...
Talk to me, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Talk to me about now in your life. You're building, you're creating, you're in this beautiful community here in Austin. What do you want to do with your time, man? What are you waking up for now? What's the mission?
Yeah, it's shifted quite a bit from primarily focusing on grief and trauma and loss, and now it's focusing on love. Mm-hmm. I'm really inspired. I've shifted to focusing on women after spending a decade in men. I still do some men's work and couples work, but I'm really I started looking at the landscape, and there's a lot of women that are angry with men. And I think the Me Too movement, and I just see that in the collective. There's a lot of anger, and it feels like father wounds. And so I've been hearing the tap for a long time, and I was like, no, men do men, women do women. But a lot of my healing the last 5 years of my own relationship house that I've been doing has come from women. Like, men could only get me so far with women, and then I needed to understand women to better understand women. And so I feel like now that's part of my gift to give back, is to really have healthy, safe, masculine presence to heal the relationship with father. Which is really what I'm seeing in the collective. Is the same thing I saw with men. Is most of the men, we just didn't have good examples of father. And so we look at all the debris and all the pain and all the things that's happened, is we didn't see examples of healthy, integrated men. So if we didn't see them, the women didn't see them either. And so that's what I'm seeing in the collective, is it's now time. I believe women actually lead, which is counterintuitive to how most people say the men lead. I believe the intuition leads. And so my mission is really two missions. One is a little bit more indirect. But I believe if I can help humans heal their hearts, then they attract and find healthy partnership, sovereign union, and then they create healthy family units. So for me, that's my big mission now, is helping women heal, stabilize the nervous system, heal the grief in their hearts, heal the wounding with men, and start to see men in a positive light, learn to communicate really lovingly with men, and start to feel the difference between men that have done the work and that are more integrated in their bodies and men that aren't. And so they can choose healthy partners to create healthy family units. And I believe that's what changes all the patterning from childhood was because of our parents, or the dysregulation and the wounding. So if we heal that, we heal the family unit. So that's my big mission. My indirect mission is, I believe most everything that all men do are for women. And so the current narrative that women are mad at men for, they don't realize they have the power and they're creating that. So if the women change what they're actually desiring, and they start to say, oh no, instead of just valuing status, money, XYZ, I actually want the integrated man who's going to be emotionally available, present over that. And I'll help him 10X and make the money. I'll help him do these things because I can help magnetize. I can help see his vision really clearly. My receptivity to believing in him and supporting him, that he can do much easier than the integrative work. I believe it'll change the whole culture of men without having to directly challenge men, is what most, like, have men do the work. I'm like, why don't you do the work and hold the standard? And men will automatically change, because it'll change what we're valuing in our culture. Because that's what I just see collectively with men. If I have more money, if I get a better body, then I can get a better partner, because that's the current culture. Versus like, oh, let me do my deep inner work. Let me heal my wounding. Let me love my little boy, my little child, and myself. Let me offload all my grief and stabilize my nervous system. That intuitively heals all of it. So if that's what they start to desire, it'll change it.
What do you get pushback on when you talk about this more than anything? Or where have you changed your mind? Somebody pushed and you've moved.
I don't think I started off here. I think this is where I'm at now, because I'm just seeing the patterns and I'm seeing it happening. And then it's kind of come. I more just got the impulse because I had my business like stopped all of a sudden. And I remember being like, it just flows. Why is it stopped? And then I started doing my practices, deep contraction. I go to faith. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And then I started getting, you're supposed to move in this direction. I'm like, women? this doesn't make any sense, but I just said, okay, I trust, I'm going to go in this direction. And the first program that I created a 4-month program called Sovereign Woman, and just trusting. And then I built it real time with the women. So I created general structure, and then I was coaching all of them and building the structure as I went. And I thought this would just be, let's learn the foundational tools, and then we'll do sovereign dating, and then we'll work on actually getting in relationships. But 60% of the women in the first program ended up in healthy relationships and changed their whole blueprint. And I was like, and it dawned on me. I was like, oh, and then it started to come. It was like, oh, this is what I'm intuitively doing, is changing the family unit. So I think it's come backwards. Instead of I had the vision and then went to go do it, I think I just was led to go do it. And when I got into action, I'm seeing what's landing and where I'm supportive, and then unpacking to go, oh, this still resonates with my mission. So it kind of came backwards.
Yeah.
And I haven't had pushback. Like if anything, I'm getting constant affirmation. And so that's what's allowing me to go deeper and deeper and deeper, because I'm like, I think there's almost nothing better when women love men. Like when they're like, oh, I really see men are so amazing and so gifted, and they appreciate and they see and they become really receptive and they learn we're different species. We just want to serve. Like men at our core, we just love to provide and we love to serve. But if there's not a receptivity to that, or like an acknowledgement, appreciation, most women are trying to, there's a whole different cycle women go through than men. Men go through the hero's journey, women go through the heroine's journey, and it's very different. And
I've never heard people tell me talk about that.
Yeah, so the heroine's journey is essentially there's a separation from the feminine, and then over-identification with the masculine. So most women are over-identified with the masculine, which is where they can come in sharp or hard or criticize or emasculate. That's all more on the masculine side. Then they have to essentially descend down and feel the grief and the sadness. And at the bottom, they refine the goddess. And that's what starts to nurture them, is the goddess. And they find beauty and aliveness and receptivity to what feels good. And that's when they can become really receptive of like, I want him to take out the trash, but he never takes out the trash. So they're mad at that, instead of going like inviting it and then telling him, when you take out the trash, I feel so good. I just want to like jump around and dance or do these, like, and then he's like, oh, this provides this. I'm just used to you telling me all the things that don't work, and I'm going to put that in the lowest category because I like getting points, and I get 0 points for that. But when he gets a lot of points, he's going to reprioritize that, and she's going to get her needs met. And so I think that conversation of seeing both women lit up because they feel safe and they feel seen, and they're also taking ownership, and then seeing the men just really, really happy, and seeing women appreciate and value men. I think that's the world that I just, it's much easier, I'm finding, to work on the women than the men. Because once women know men, I think we're simple. Like we're like, ring the bell, get a treat. Like I think we're that simple. Like whatever you want me to do, if you appreciate me and you see me, I'm happy to do it.
I hear that a lot. I hear respect a lot. Like I just want to be respected. Somebody said even, or maybe I heard this somewhere, that men would rather like die than be disrespected or whatever it is. It was that intense. It was just the most important thing. Appreciate me, for what I do, at the core of it.
Yeah, and what is emasculation? Disrespect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what happens most of the time, is that's how women communicate with women.
Yeah.
Not men, we're very different. So when they learn how we're wired and how to communicate, we're happy to, like when we feel respected and what we provide goes a long way.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want to give you the world.
I felt like a couple years ago, I heard a big narrative of like, we don't need men, that was a narrative that now I hear more of healthy, balanced of like, we do want and need men, and they play a specific role, and women play a specific role. We want and need women. We need both, and they need to work in harmony together and to energize one another, and they're different energies.
Agree. And one other thing I'll say that's really cool is, it was one thing teaching men about men, doing men's work. Now teaching women about men, and I've been reading all these women books. Like I just learn men so much deeper. So it's cool. Like
that's right.
I find that
need both perspectives.
Yeah, and it gives you a different lens, how women see the world through men than how men see the world. And so it just helps me understand at a deeper level.
Because you did men's work for so long, how would you sum up men's work? If the question is, what is men's work? Or what did you learn from that? High level summary. You're not like most men. You don't just scroll, you study. You don't just parent, you lead. And you don't just read, you implement. And that's why we made this, a no-fluff, battle-tested list of books that sharpen men like you. Picked by our tribe, proven in real life, these books are going to stretch your mind, fuel your growth, and challenge who you thought you had to be. These aren't just great reads. They're tools to help you grow as a father, husband, and a man. Get the list and all the insights that bring it to life at frontrowdads.com/books.
That's a good question. I would say I learned to heal my wounding around men. Like I learned my wounding from childhood where I didn't trust men, father wounds, money wounds related to father, all the wounding related to men. To me, men's work taught me to trust men and love men, let men into my life, taught me to stop overcompensating and learned where I was I didn't know I was overcompensating. So I got to see where I was overcompensating and got to like move through that. I got to get challenged, but not shamed. I'd experienced men as more shameful. So I was kind of keeping the guard close, but when you're challenged because they love you and they're holding you accountable.
Dude, that's huge. Challenged, not shamed.
It's a different, because tribe, it's like, if you fail, I fail.
Yeah.
So like you have to win because I win. We were together. We're in the tribe. So if you fail, I fail. So that accountability of like, you said you were going to do this.
I'm just picturing my like young self with all my boys and how much shame, you idiot, you fucking, are you like just, yeah. Because that is the younger version of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the older, more mature version is the challenge. Like, dude, I see more in you. And I want, like, it's, as a kid, you know, you learn almost that if I put my buddy down, I'll be stronger. And then as an adult, you learn that if I lift my buddy up, we're all stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's said in summary. Like, that's it. And I think men's work is very sharpening, challenging, which is needed, versus I find women, it's almost more building up. It's a lot more building up. Mm-hmm. So it's they're very different energies.
You said something about trusting men, and that's it. I've heard that a lot, especially recently, is, you know, and maybe it's men in their 40s, maybe this is a season, but it is this idea of, I have not really ever trusted men deeply, and I want to do that. And I've heard this from very successful men with lots of friends, men with lots of other male influences in their life, but yet they still know that there's some level of trust that they're not allowing themselves to experience, and they want that deeply, like deep trust amongst men. Yeah, somebody who's not trying to take your wife, trying to take your kingdom, trying to, you know, crush your business so he can have all of the money. If you have somebody who really, really wants you to win and to be the best that you could possibly be, that's rare. Maybe is that rare? Feels rare.
I think it's again back to what were we shown as men? This is where my mind goes. We were shown the savage man who takes and has power, or the nice guy who's peaceful.
Yeah.
So we were shown, pick a lane. You're either going to be the good guy, or you know, the nice guy syndrome.
That's right.
And you're going to be a really loving guy. You're going to love a lot of people, but you don't have a backbone, and you're going to get walked on, and but you don't have any power, but you're going to be the good guy. Or you're going to be the powerful guy that consumes, that takes, that destroys, that'll backstab you, but it's got power. And so that's where I see men shadow into, is they choose one lane. To me, the integration work is integrating. So if I've been savage, how do I integrate and start to make it about other people that I'm serving and be integrity and follow my word? Same thing on the nice guy side is, how do I get a backbone? I still have to be integrity, follow my word. But the nice guy's choosing power, and the powerful guy's choosing peace. And that's how I find we actually integrate the shadows.
Cool. Well said.
And then I find that's the integrative work that I find is men are doing to heal their hearts, because they have to go into their wounds and feel their grief and be there with their little child, because it was formed in childhood.
Yeah.
We saw that example. I find most men, either it's from dad first, they either did what dad did or the opposite. So if dad's a nice guy, they either became a nice guy or they became the savage man, because they're like, I'll never be like him. Or flip, dad was savage, they either fought him bigger, badder, Or they said, oh, I'm going to succumb and be the nice guy so I don't ruffle the feathers. So that's how I find the origin point was. So men's work is healing our origin of men. And then also what took me a long time is just to find even elders. Like we don't have as many elders in our community. We don't do as many tribes. So the elders get pushed out. So I think even back to our earlier conversation, including, my parents and having my dad and his friends and making them also my friends was really helpful to like have elder wisdom. And I remember when I was, in men's work researching like, oh, the role of elders and even having some buddies going like, oh, I'm moving closer to elder. I know we were even talking about it the other night of like, is it an intentional choice to step into elder? Because it's a role you hold. And in men's communities, it typically moves into a family system where somebody's dad and everybody's mad at dad. And so it feels like healing that is really what we're doing in men's work. We're healing our relationship with men, which means healing our trust with men, healing our wounding with our fathers, and learning how to father ourselves and father each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like the foundation of it is. And when you do, you're like, oh, I can breathe. I can trust the men in my space. I can let men in. And it just becomes a different world. There's like a relaxation versus an on guard. I feel like that's the main difference. Like everybody wants something and I gotta overcompensate or I gotta do things to project versus like, I can just be who I am. So I think it relaxes the body is how I experience it. How do you experience it?
Which part?
The men's work. Like a high level, what is that? What's the same question for you?
What comes to mind is examples. I don't love being told what to do, right? And in our community, in Front Row Dads, why I started this whole thing, I just wanted to put myself around great guys that I thought all could bring something unique to the table. And so in our 6 pillars of parenting, marriage, business, wealth, emotions, health, right? All of that, I just wanted these unique men, all with different perspectives on life, to bring the best of who they were and just share that. Hey, what is working for you? So that I could see other ways of doing things. So to me, a lot of men's work is like the minute some dude in our group has a breakthrough, he has a win, in some category of his life, and he shares it, whatever, he's even sharing his breakdown, right? It allows me to really witness, observe, learn, and then model. I think that's how I grew up as a young boy. That's what I think it's more is caught than taught from your parents. And in men's work, it's just more of that. I didn't come into men's work to be lectured, scolded, told what to do, but like to put myself in close proximity to great stories. And so I've said this many, many times, probably over the years on the podcast, but one of my best buddies, John Kane, when he was, how many years ago is this? Probably now 10 years ago. So Tiger, who's 15, would have been 5-ish. I'm guessing. I don't remember the details, but he picked him up. John Kane picks up Tiger in his kitchen, puts his hand on his chest and says, Tiger, I see a light in you. I see this like incredible young man. And he just went on to give a speech. I call it the I see a light in you speech, right? Like that. I watched him do this as a man in my world, right? I have picked up so many children, right? And said to them, like my buddy's kids, I'll pick them up and I'm like, man, there's something special about you. There's a light in you and it's genuine. And I really call out what I see in this child. And I go, that's men's work to me. Us doing life together, being at our best together so I can model your best and try it on myself and see if it works. And also seeing you at your worst, because it reminds me that if you can fight through your worst, if you can grow through your worst, if you can be vulnerable with that and still love yourself and not take your own life and not give up and not give in and all those things, that I can do it too. It's really because you did it, I can do it too. That's what men's work is to me. Because you said yes, I can say yes too. Because you said no, I can say no too.
Permission.
And so many good things that I've experienced in my life over the past couple years have been, I can directly tie it back to another man who showed me a way first.
Well said.
Tim Nikolaev traveling with his family in Europe every year. I'm like, how does he do that? Like, how does he do that? And then eventually I find myself in Europe with Tim Nikolaev, on a trip, on a 6-week European adventure. And I'm like, he paved the way. He showed me the path. He inspired me. He taught me the model.
Well said.
For all the guys out there listening, and the women, by the way, about 25% of our audience are females, what do you want to say about men's work, about fatherhood, or about anything else that we might have touched on or didn't touch on today? What do you want to share as a closing thought?
When you notice yourself, for anybody listening, when you notice yourself upset about somebody, what would happen if you took a moment instead of getting upset with them or going to a moment of shaming them, and you reframed it to say pain instead of shame, pain. So whenever you do something on yourself and you wanted to beat yourself up, why did I yell at my kids? Why did I get upset? Why did I do that? Or when you see somebody else doing it, if you could just replace shame with pain, the world would be a much better place because it explains why we do what we do.
Dude, it's so good and so relevant to me because I have something that happened in the last 24 hours of my life that is very fitting for. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of people listening could probably look not so far off into the past to find a moment where that would have been a very helpful tool, instead of shaming somebody to seek where maybe is that person's pain.
Yeah, I know Dr. Shivali does a lot around reparenting, and I've actually had coaches that are working with me now from her, but it's most of the time the way I understand it, and I don't have kids, but I'll preface that, but most of the times when we're triggered by our kids, it's triggering something in us from our childhood. So that's a great time to do grief work as well, is how do we be there with the parts that are getting triggered in us so then we can be more compassionate with our pain so that we can then be more compassionate with them.
Yeah. Joshua, thanks for being here, man. This was a great conversation, buddy. Love you and appreciate, the fact that we get to do life together, the fact that we get to do the men's work together. It means a lot to me. So thank you for the impact you've had on my family. Thanks for inviting me to, my first Burning Man experience. Thanks for being there for me in that experience. And thanks for being a person of integrity, a person of real safety, a person that the women in our community really look to with great reverence, and they all feel love for you and safe with you. And I think that's just you bring such a great, very unique, very only Joshua Wenner can bring it type of love and safety to our group. And so thank you for that, man. It's just fun to do life with you. And I hope that we got lots more ahead of us, many more experiences. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. It's such an honor to be on. So fun. I'm just so grateful we get to do life, not just with you, but with your whole family. And we get to continue to celebrate, have fun, share stories, and just go deeper. We keep going deeper. And I've just been honored to know you as a brother and as a friend, as an ally.
Yeah. Thanks, man.